Asante Samuel said it. When you try to suppress the best, something else gonna shake so that the best rises. I paraphrase, but that's the truth. And that's what you're seeing. But I don't want us to get lost on this is just about him starting and we move on. No, this is bigger than that. This is about black quarterbacks. The NFL's disdain for black starting quarterbacks, black quarterbacks in general, and how badly they discriminate against them in the draft. It is not just about being pushed down and being QB1 or QB2. This is about money. So that fight has to continue. And I just want people to know they all in on it. So I don't know what team he could go to. I said Dallas was the only one. So I don't want people. I heard people say he should go to Detroit. Did Detroit try to draft him? Okay, because they couldn't. Shedeur has brand power and is the better athlete. We know it. However, they wasted $250 million on Deshaun Watson, and now they wasted $40 million on Dylan. I don't know that they wasted $40 million on Dylan, but they didn't waste $250 million on Deshaun Watson. They gave Deshaun Watson his money back, just like they're going to give Shedeur his money back. I told you it's a reason they own the same team. Do your research on their black quarterbacks. They all came from scandals somewhere or being held back at another team or being passed around from teams. I told y'all the NFL compared Shedeur Sanders to Geno Smith. That's not true. Just like it's not true that Pat Schumer compared Shedeur Sanders in personality to Daniel Jones. That's doing him a disservice. The NFL was using code speak for we going to pass him around from year to year till we get to year 4. Then we're going to cut him. It was already said after the draft, his career in the NFL going to be short because that's the plan. When they say the NFL does not want quarterbacks like Shedeur Sanders now, plural, timing, they not playing. They've already done it to the others. He needs to know that that's where he is. It has nothing to do with your father. It has everything to do with you being a black quarterback. Shiloh's last name is Sanders, and you don't see nobody stepping on him. In fact, his coach came out and says he has a chance to make the roster. You hear anybody say that about Shedeur? Cleveland does not want to win with Shedeur because he's black. Let that sink in. That means it's nothing Shedeur can do. All Shedeur needs to do is just go out there and play for God every day. Because that's the reason he's still there. That's the reason he got drafted. That's the reason he's still there. Something is about to shake. And he going to either be forced out of there or they're going to have to let him rise naturally. And they're going to have to stop holding him back because we're talking about it. I talk about things. It takes other people a week to get there. They're going to get there. I'm serious. People need to start asking Cleveland. If he's the best quarterback, why don't you want him to be your QB1? Just ask the question. Praying for nephew and his mental, that's it. I mean, you have to do that, right? And I remind people, when you pray for somebody, God gonna use you in the solution. And don't forget, faith without works is dead. Sweetie said he gonna have to sue the NFL. As an employee, it would never work. It would never work. I should never say never, but not with the current situation they have with the NFL Players Association. They got to find somebody they could trust not to collude against the players. I don't even know if they have that in place yet. It's up. This is for the fans to do. The fans did it in Carolina. The fans were the difference in Washington. The fans need to be the difference for Shadur. The NFL Combine is used to devalue NFL prospects and reduce the amount of money that they should be paid. The teams have tape on all of his players, right, Roger? And guess what? They have tape on Tyler Shaw, and I don't think his combine was good. They had tape on Jackson Dart. They didn't care about none of it. They tossed it all to the wind. But Shedeur Sanders' skill set matters because he's black, and they're looking for a reason to hold him back. See, if people just speak out about it and tell the truth, it mattered when ESPN said they don't want to win with Shadur. It's due because they're biased. Nobody said anything about Coach Prime. Everybody knew what he meant. Y'all keep saying, how does the Cleveland fans keep showing up? I don't know, because they see what happens to their black quarterbacks. Again, I say they must be busy. I don't know. It didn't take me a second to just read it. This is a pattern of behavior in Cleveland towards black quarterbacks, holding them back. They do not want what they have never had. A black elite QB1 long-term starter. They know Shedeur would be that, which tells you when they pre-drafted him as their franchise, which is long-term QB1 starter, it was under false pretenses because they wasn't finna be different this year. Are they different right now? No. No. Hold on one second. So it just depends. All right, excuse me, it just depends. So, it just kind of depends on what people are thinking about. And to me, what they should be thinking about is not just should he start. Of course he should start. I feel like we know that. So we can move on. That's not a drum that needs to be beat. The drum that needs to be beat is there needs to be a remedy for the NFL draft, which is the root of the problem in Cleveland. And Shadur wasn't devalued for the sake of devaluing him. He was robbed for the sake of robbing him. This was intentional, which is why they made fun of the little money that he's making. There needs to be consequences for that. And it needs to come from the fans. I think that's the message. When they file a grievance with the Players Association, they don't get nowhere. But there does seem to be change when it comes to the fans. And Cleveland fans need to start looking around the league and see what happens when teams refuse to put a winning strategy in place. Shadur's ROI is exponential because they invested only $2 million in him. His salary is $4.6 million or $4 million. So they ain't invest nothing yet because he ain't got paid. That's another thing. They don't even get paid to the first game check. So they working for free. And if he get paid, if he get cut before the first game, guess what he not going to get from Cleveland? A game check. So does that make sense to you now when we speak in dollars and cents? The players don't get paid until the first game check. What you have heard people say is that Shadur will be cut before the first game, which means he will not get a game check from Cleveland, which meant all of his work in Cleveland. It wasn't in vain in terms of his career, but they just used him as a camp body. That's why there was no strategy for him to accelerate. That's why the competition wasn't real. I told y'all this is about money. These guys don't get paid until the first game check. So a lot of them are camp bodies. And to reduce Shedeur Sanders, who they pre-draft with as their franchise QB, number 2 overall, to a camp body is criminal. That means you lured him under false pretenses because he's exactly who he was when you pre-draft with him. That's what I mean by this is about money. That's a slap in the face. If I was a undrafted free agent and I get cut, oh well, I tried. This was the franchise QB. There's no reason he should get cut. That was before he's proven to be the best. So how you going to cut him now? That's a problem. This is about money. Undisputed facts. Yep, it is. NFL gentrification. I mean, okay. I don't know how you see that. I see that as the reverse, but okay. It said they don't have a response once you lay everything out. That's right. And if you notice, I said this, the media is intentionally not asking real questions. They're not asking the questions that need to be asked. They're tiptoeing around Cleveland because they know for a fact what the deal is. When people run out here and tell you in unison, parroting the same, they're going to trade Shadur before week 1, of course they will. So they don't have to pay him. Because they mean he a camp body. That's another way of making him feel worthless and devalued. And then who going to get him? The next team, and they're going to do the same thing. Just put him on the bench for the season. Too late for you to start. And next year, you're going to be draft capital. And I'm going to send you to your next team. And I'm going to make you compete. And I'm going to hold you back. And I'm going to do the same thing. It happened to Vince Young. It happened to Vince Young when he finally got the hell out of Tennessee after they fired the coach for wrongdoing. After they fired Jeff Fisher, I think Vince Young thought he was free. They cut him. And he went from team and got cut. And I think he was on the same team with Michael Vick. Trade and cut. Trade and cut 4 years. Deshaun Kaiser, same thing. Let him go 0-15 in Cleveland so they could justify trading him next year. Robert Griffin III came from Washington after they cheated him to Cleveland. He was there 1 year. Shedeur, maybe 1 year. Or his next team, a whole season. They're treating them like chattel. All the while reducing their career earnings. They're being passed around because they have contracts for 1, 2, 3, or 4 years. They're treating them like they don't value them because they don't. And I'm telling y'all, as good as Shadur is, they're treating him the same way because they weren't playing when they said the NFL does not want quarterbacks like Shadur Sanders now, per Mel Kiper Jr. Everything else after that. You think the owner of the Browns didn't know that? That came from an NFL insider. If the NFL insider says that, then that's what the owners want. That's why it wasn't just Jackson Dart in place of Shedeur. It was Tyler Shaw in place of Milroe too. Quarterbacks like Shedeur Sanders now. The 2025 draft. That's why the first 3 quarterbacks that come out next year or 4 are white. They are already setting it up in college. But they want that stadium done. They already got the money. They already broke ground. That stadium is a done deal because there are people in Ohio who feel like that is for all of Ohio and not Cleveland, which is why it is not in Cleveland. There's land that they could have bought in Cleveland around that stadium and created the same thing. They don't want to be in Cleveland. I looked at the demographics of Cleveland. 42% black. It's probably 52. Just like New Orleans. They don't want that. That's why the Saints don't care what they do to their fan base either. That's why the fans need to stay home because these teams don't respect the fans. So the stadium is already, they already broke ground on that. And the fact that Cleveland could even get something like that after being horrendous for decades tells you it's not about winning. And that's exactly why there's the race for all of these teams to run out and get the star in a city near you so they don't have to care about the sport of football. That's why they'd rather have Haitian players and African players that are true immigrants. Because they know that community, that population, is just going to take what they're handed. They don't expect a fight. But see, here's the problem. You get enough Haitians and enough Africans, they're going to fight back too when they have enough people to fight with. But they don't think that that's the case because they don't see African Americans fighting. So why the push to get rid of the African American players? I don't know. I guess we always holding out.